Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our TLN webinar this morning with the Library of Michigan and Biz Gallo. Biz is newer to Library of Michigan, so she's going to introduce herself and give us a good snapshot of all the digitization efforts statewide and how your library could maybe get involved. So Biz, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thanks for coming today.
Well, thank you, Steve, for having me, and thank you for TLN. So as Steve said, my name is Biz Gallo, and I'm the statewide digitization initiatives coordinator for the Library of Michigan. And my job is to help libraries and cultural heritage organizations around the state digitize their materials, make them accessible, and digitally preserve them. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm originally from Michigan, but have moved all over and find myself back here again. Also, I'd like to mention that my specialty and background is in audiovisual digitization. So I can help with those questions because I know a lot of times those are scary for people and so they avoid them, but I can help with that too. Today, I'm just going to briefly talk about what digitization is and reasons why you might want to be doing it. And then I'm going to focus mostly on programs and services that the Library of Michigan provides, and then kind of what you can do to help improve programs and services that the library offers. So I also want to mention that I'm going to be dropping links at the end of the presentation for everything I talk about today into the chat so you can explore it further or reach out to whoever, what other services you might be interested in. So we'll start by just taking a really brief look at what digitization is. And in its simplest form, it's transforming analog information into digital information. So a physical object into the bits that electronically represent that image. Usually this is analog physical formats like a document or a photograph, but it can also be analog electronic formats like audiovisual materials. And we usually do this through scanning or digital photography or through advanced imaging methods. But it's really just that simple, turning something physical into something that can be represented with bits. And so you wonder why you might want to digitize something. The most common reason that people want to digitize their materials is for access, especially libraries and archives and cultural heritage organizations. Our main goal is to provide broader access to information. And so by digitizing our collections, we can open up access remotely. So people can, if they're, especially over the past few years, we've seen the importance of being able to access collections and materials remotely when we can't physically get into a building. So that's one of the key reasons. We also say that it opens up hidden collections. So if you have material in your collections that are, fragile or really rare or valuable that you might not want to have readily or openly accessible to people coming in, you can digitize this so that they can access that material without risk of damaging the original. It also helps improve research because you can create data sets that can be parsed more easily than a physical object. You can do a lot like digital humanities or data analysis. There's a ton of stuff that you can do once your material is in digital form. It also allows you to create collaborative exhibits. So if you have material about a subject and a lot of other organizations have material about the same subject, you can create an overarching digital exhibit. So you're creating an experience that people wouldn't necessarily get at your one institution or their one institution. And then finally, but definitely not least, it improves accessibility. So it opens up materials that might be otherwise inaccessible in its analog form. And that, can be by creating optical character recognition representations of things so that screen readers can make them more accessible. So those are kind of the main reasons why digitization opens up access. The other primary incentive for digitization is that it helps with preservation of the essence of the original material. So a lot of times physical media will suffer from either degradation or carrier obsolescence. So, paper yellows, acetate shrinks, things fall apart. They're physical. They're not the stone tablets that we can look back at, from thousands of years ago. And so digitization is a way to preserve the essence or the content without having to worry about the carrier not providing access over time. So those are the main reasons for that. There's also protection against, theft or vandalism, or as a replacement in the event of theft or vandalism, as well as in the event of replacement for disasters. I know in Michigan, we've had several floods in the past few years, fires. You always hope that these things will never happen, but if you have a digital backup or a digital surrogate that could be used as a replacement, then digitization helps provide that service as well. So that's really why you might want to consider digitization. But if you're looking for where to get started, I know it can be really overwhelming, especially when you're considering maybe unfamiliar technologies or looking at a long-term investment into digital preservation. But you don't need to start from scratch. You have a lot of resources available to help you. And the main one is me. So my job, as I said, is to support libraries, museums, and cultural heritage organizations by providing resources, consulting, and guidance. So I will talk to you about those resources right now. I do want to mention that digitization is not a one-size-fits-all. So we have a variety of tools and services that can help people at all levels, whether it's a small historical society all the way up to university libraries. Okay, so the first thing that I do, and what I do most often, is I provide training on digitization related topics. So some of you might already know, but in January, we started our Digitization Basics webinar series. And this is a monthly webinar series for the next 9 months that go over the foundations of digitization and digital life cycle. So it starts with project planning and ends with digital preservation. These webinars are free, and they're on the last Tuesday of every month. And they are also being recorded. So if you have missed one and you're interested, they're on the Library of Michigan's webinar archives page. I also want to mention that from these webinars, we're also creating niche academy modules where you'll be able to go more in depth into some of the topics that we cover, and then take quizzes and earn badges in digitization. So it's another way to learn. And then also, if you'd rather go at your own pace, aside from these, the Library of Michigan website has a digitization page that has tons of great resources and materials, so you can kind of explore it on your own if you're not looking for a class. And then I also just want to mention that right now we're not doing any in-person workshops because of COVID restrictions, but we will be opening up hopefully soon. And I would love to know what sorts of workshops you'd be interested in having, what kind of training you'd be interested in getting more of. So please feel free to reach out to me and provide that kind of feedback so I can create programs and services around what your needs are. Second, I provide just sort of shoot me an email or give me a phone call and ask a quick question about something. It could be something more in depth where I'm helping you create a project plan, or pick equipment, or look at choosing a vendor, anything like that. So I meet with people all the time via Zoom or phone calls, and I do make site visits. So if you want me to come out and take a look at your collection and see what it is or make recommendations, I'm happy to do that. I have been traveling around the state, and I'm in the TLN's area specifically, so it would be really easy for me to come out and meet you there. So third, I provide funding resources, and I don't fund your projects directly, but I help you by identifying grant opportunities or other fundraising opportunities. I can help you budget for a digitization project and consider the overall cost of what something might be, not just the cost of buying equipment, but the really long-term costs of digital preservation, so that you can plan appropriately. I do want to mention right now that the Library of Michigan does have a digitization focused grant that is open right now. It closes on May 31st, but it is the LSTA funded Improving Access to Information grant, and it will cover up to I think $25,000 towards a digitization project. So if you're looking for funding for a project, now is a great time to reach out to me. And I will also include that information for the grant in the list of links that I send. And then also I want to mention that the Library of Michigan's digitization webpage has an entire section on grants that support digitization. So it's broken down by local, so Michigan specific organization grants, as well as national grants. And then I'm always updating that. So if you know of something that is not on that list, please feel free to send it to me and I will add it. The fourth thing that I provide is digitization equipment and services. And I'm really excited because the digitization kits that we've been working on building since I started are now available for circulation. So we have 5 kits that are available to circulate with two different scanner formats in them. One is a kind of basic scanner that will do most of what you want for the basic formats, plus film, slides, and negatives. And then the other one is a larger format book edge scanner. So we have 2 different types of kits. We have 5 total. They're open for circulation. These are free to use. You can use them for up to 2 months at a time. And then you can renew them if there's nobody waiting. But it can help you digitize a specific project if you don't want to invest in costly equipment. Or if you're looking to make that investment, you can try out some different equipment ahead of time and see if it would work within your organization, if you like it, or if you want to look for something else. So those are available now. I'm very excited. And then the second thing that we're doing at the library is we are expanding our Content DM instance to host material from outside of our organization. So we're currently in the process of this, we're calling it the LM Digital Content Hosting Program. And we'll be able to put your material on our website, or on our Content DM instance, but it will be under your organization as its own collection. You can point specifically to your collection from your website. People probably wouldn't even know that they were leaving your website. But it's a way to provide access when libraries don't have access themselves at their own institution. I do want to mention that it is not preservation. It is only for digital hosting, but there are other resources that I'll talk about in a minute about digital preservation. I just want to also mention there is no cost for either the digitization kit loan program or the hosting program. The library covers both of those in an effort to really reduce barriers to digitization and digital access. And then finally, I coordinate with the Digital Public Library of America and the Michigan Digital Preservation Network. And together with these 2 other organizations, the Library of Michigan helps create this 3-legged stool of the digital life cycle. So we have digitization, access, and preservation. I'll just briefly talk about what the DPLA and MDPN are. So the DPLA is a metadata aggregator, and the Michigan Service Hub is our Michigan specific hub that manages all that metadata aggregation. So they make those available, they point to it, and then people can search the DPLA and it will point to your specific collection. So they can search kind of this really broad, all over the country, and then it will point directly to your collection. So it really elevates access to your collections while still providing traffic back to your specific website. So it's great. And there's over 1 million records in the Michigan Service Hub. So that's 1 million ways for people to access your collections. This is also a screenshot of Michigan Memories, which is the Michigan specific version of DPLA, where we can kind of do more of what we want and create collections that are specific to Michigan. So Rick Adler is the coordinator for the DPLA, and he's happy to work with you, and I can share his information. The other organization is the Michigan Digital Preservation Network, also known as the MDPN. This is a member-governed digital preservation group where they have a LOCKSS 2.0 based preservation strategy, and LOCKSS stands for lots of copies keep stuff safe. So it's basically a distributed digital preservation network around the state that you become a member of, and then you can deposit your materials and have them safely preserved. So now that you know a little bit about my role, the services that I provide and can provide access to, I'd like to just have a little ask from you all. We just put out a survey. It closed yesterday, so you won't be able to take it, but I hope that you did see it and were able to take it to try and get more of a sense of what resources are available out there and what resources people want. But if you weren't able to take the survey, I encourage you to reach out to me directly and talk to me about, even just let me know what you're doing at your library or your organization regarding digitization or digital preservation. What do you have that you like? What do you wish you had access to? Or what other resources do you wish you had that either, you don't have or you wish you had more of? So, reach out to me, send me an email, ask me to stop by. I'm happy to come and visit you all. And then the last thing is just, as libraries, we have this ability to create connections with the other cultural heritage organizations in our area that might not have the same sort of resources available that the libraries have. So if you have the opportunity to reach out and create partnerships with these other organizations, that would be great. So we can continue to try and be more inclusive and provide a wider range of voices as we're digitizing and preserving stories about the state. Yeah, let's see. All right, that's it. So in the end, my job is to support you, and whether that's through training or consulting or providing you with equipment and services, I'm happy to do any and all of those things. So please feel free to reach out to me. Utilize the services we have. If we don't have the services you need, let me know so I can create them. This is a new position. It just started last year, so we're still in the process of seeing what that infrastructure is going to look like, building programs and services around what we think the needs are and what we've been hearing the needs are. But without feedback from you, we're not going to be able to really create an environment that lets you digitally preserve and provide access to your collections how you need it. So my contact information is here, and then I'm also going to take a second and just drop all the links that I mentioned today in the chat, but I'm ready to answer questions that you might have about really anything.
Thanks for being with us today, Biz. I'm very excited everything that Library Michigan's doing, including creating this new position, having you here to assist all the libraries statewide at looking at their digital projects. As Biz said, do any of you have questions, you can ask now. She's left some time on our time together, and she's dropped those links in the chat.
How is the availability on that and receipt of the equipment?
How is the availability and the receipt? So right now, the very first one is going out tomorrow, and the other ones are all still open. I will send you I will drop the request form in here as well, because it's not up on the website yet. It should be on the website by Friday. Basically, you would put in a request through the website, and if it's available, then I will ship it out via UPS to you. Then you have it for 2 months, and I'll include a prepaid UPS return label that you can send it back when you're done. And it has a scanner, it has a laptop, it has instructions and other kind of accoutrement for basic, basic scanning jobs. And you can use it for what you want. And whether that's for a specific project, if you wanted to do a community archiving day and either go out into the community or invite people to come into your library to scan their collections and maybe, talk to them about it, or have it added to your own digital collection, you're free to do that as well. And yeah, we're just starting out with 5 kits, and we're going to see how they're utilized, and we might add more. We might add different formats if people find out that they want more, or different types of scanning.
Thank you, and great suggestions on the use of it.
Okay.
Well,
thank you. Did I see something in the chat? Is the computer program requirements needed to use this equipment? What type of requirements what are you asking about? I want to make sure that I'm answering your question.
Maybe,
There are, oh, sorry, go ahead.
maybe Jeanine was thinking to connect to, but it sounds like it comes with a laptop to use.
Yep. It comes with a laptop, and it also comes, the laptop comes with software that, like, all the software that you would need in order to digitize things. So not only to digitize them, but to also do some post-processing. So some photo editing software is on there, some kind of bulk renaming software is on there. And it would work with your computers. You know what? I hadn't really considered having you scan to your computers, because then you would need to put the driver on there. But if that's something that you're interested in, instead of using the laptop that's provided in the kit, I can definitely include the scanner drivers, which are basically the software that you would need to install on your local computer in order for the scanner to be able to talk to your local computer. But yeah, I don't see a reason that we couldn't do that. It just is nice that it comes already installed and managed on the laptop, so you don't have to worry about doing that on your local computers.
Okay, good question.
Yeah, that's what I was really trying to make it easy, because a lot of times people don't have the extra computer stations available to use for this. And depending on what you're doing with the scans, it might require some additional processing power that computers, your basic desktops might not have. I also want to mention it does come with Abby Fine Reader optical character recognition software as well. So if you have text documents, you can do that extra step of creating an OCR version to make things more accessible and more searchable.
We have other questions for Biz? I know some of you have collections you've already digitized and you have PDFs on your websites. Some of you may have collections that you'd like to digitize. So Library of Michigan is really offering expanded services on helping libraries make those collections.
Is in terms of hosting space.
Yeah.
Could you address that a bit?
Sure. So right now we don't have a limit on how much we will host for you. This is really, we're trying to get this program off the ground for organizations that don't have hosting of their collections. We have two different paths, if you will. So one path is for people who are really just starting with their digital collection. So they might be creating them and then they're planning to streamline it directly into our hosting. For those, we have a metadata form that people can use to just fill in metadata as they're scanning or as they're reviewing files. The other path that we have is for people that might already have digital collections. They might have metadata available so that they can just upload the documents at the same time with the metadata, rather than doing it as two separate steps. I will say that the requirement that we have for participating in the LM digital hosting is that you are okay with contributing your content or your records to the Digital Public Library of America. And we handle all of that for you. Contributing to the DPLA is free. It just requires a little bit of massaging metadata to make sure that if it's not already to their METS profile, that we crosswalk it to the METS profile. But luckily, all of the requirements that we have for what metadata we'll need on our hosting, which is really minimal. It's like title, rights statement, your organization, and a thumbnail. Like, other than the title and the rights statement, everything else is kind of taken care of. And then we manage the migration, or I'm sorry, we manage the metadata getting into the DPLA so that it's searchable there. But really, it's a low barrier. We just want people to be able to make their collections available online if they aren't already able to do that. And if you are already, I know Steve mentioned that some people already have things digitized that are on their websites. If you do already have those, have you considered contributing to the DPLA if you're not already? It's really a very simple process. You connect with Rick Adler at the Michigan Service Hub. He connects you with one of the metadata helpers that basically take your metadata and make sure that it will talk to the DPLA's harvester and points it to your website or wherever it is if it's compatible. And it's a really simple process, and it's a great way to make your collections reach beyond maybe your local website or your local area.
Thank you.
Thanks. Is anyone thinking about applying for the Improving Access to Information grant? No one. There's $250,000 sitting there waiting to be used. Great. Well, if you are interested, there is a webinar tomorrow on that grant, so you can check that out, and it goes into a little bit more about what the grant requirements are. Janine says not at this point, but definitely in the future. Great, Janine, I look forward to working with you on your grant application and making sure that it's successful, because I really want to fund your projects and I want to make sure that they are good fundable projects. So I'm happy to answer questions or help you with your proposals if and when you're ready to go that route.
Any final questions for Biz? Okay, we'll get the recording posted from the webinar, and I'll get all these links posted as well in our web pages for TLN. And we'll get the info out to everybody that wasn't able to join us live today. But thank you, Biz, for presenting to us and showing us all that Library of Michigan has going on and all of your new efforts.
Well, thank you. And I just forgot, I'm going to drop the kit reservation link in the chat right now, so I don't forget.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. And again, please feel free to reach out with any questions, and I look forward to seeing you around.
Great. Thanks, Biz.